Playback speed. And let's hit it.
Warn you.
Linda, I hope you do a great job and put yourself out of a job. I want her to put herself out of a job. Education department.
All right, and a move that seems to portend the beginning of the end for the department that Republicans, going back to Reagan, pledged to abolish. The Department of Education today told staffers to vacate their offices by 6 p.m. because the offices were closing nationwide. The doors are now locked. Workers aren't going to be allowed back into the buildings until at least Thursday. When they do return, it'll be a more cozier group. Nearly half of the 4,100 workers are being cut in what the department is calling a reduction in force. President Trump addressed staff cuts in general today.
We want to cut people that aren't doing the job. We want to keep the right people.
Absolutely.
And I said, I don't want to just say we're going to cut 50%. I want to cut the people that aren't doing the job.
Joining me now, Department of Education Secretary Linda McMahon. Madam Secretary, great to have you in studio today. All right. First, welcome to the show, because you haven't been in studio with me before. Now, is this the first step on the road to a total shutdown?
Yes, actually it is, because that was the president's mandate, his directive to me. Clearly is to shut down the Department of Education, which we know we'll have to work with Congress, to get that accomplished. But what we did today was to take the first step of eliminating what I think is bureaucratic bloat. And that's not to say that a lot of the folks, it's a humanitarian thing too. A lot of the folks that are there, they're out of a job. But we wanted to make sure that we kept all of the right people and the good people to make sure that the outward-facing programs, the grants, the appropriations that come from Congress, all of that are being met, and none of that's going to fall through the cracks.
So that was my next question. So the criteria for keeping that 50% is related to expenditures and key programs?
Correct. Congress appropriates the money that is going through Title I, through IDEA programs.
What's that stand for?
Do you know what? I'm not sure I can tell you exactly what it stands for, except that it's the programs for disabled and needs.
Individuals with Disabilities Act, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't know all my acronyms. I've been here for 30 years.
This is my fifth day on the job, and I'm really trying to learn them very quickly.
Right, it's a lot. So reports today said that the buildings were going to be closed for security reasons. What does that mean? Well,
when people left today and they got their notification to take their laptops and their phones home with them, and we didn't want part of the people who were being permanently let go and those who are remaining to some of them show up to work tomorrow morning.
That's standard corporate
practice. So it's
just
standard corporate practice that we just locked the doors and said for those that are coming back, we'll know that they'll be coming back on Thursday morning.
Were people given a chance to take any personal effects?
They were told that they will be allowed to come back. We would arrange for them to come back and take their personal effects with them and to say goodbye to some folks too.
Randy Weingarten, you're shocked. I know you two were catching dinner in about 20 minutes, but she actually commented about what's going on here. Watch.
Think about a country whose president basically says, I'm getting rid of education. What does that say about the future? So many people are so mad about it because they're just taking opportunity away from kids that don't have it. So kids of billionaires, they have it.
Let's stay on the facts.
Sorry,
no,
I'm really angry about this.
No, because this
I'm
is what
really angry.
Your reaction?
Well, clearly we're not taking away education. The president never said that. He's taken the bureaucracy out of education so that more money flows to the states. Better education is closest to the kids, with parents, with local superintendents, with local school boards. I think we'll see our scores go up with our students when we can educate them with parental input as well.
Well, she's very angry. And over the weekend, I posted on X that it would be nice if Randy were ever angry about the abysmal 8th grade and 4th grade reading and math proficiency. You see those numbers, like 18%, 22% of proficiency or above? In 4th and 8th grade, we rank near the bottom globally on these standards. It's shocking, given how much, and we're putting up a graphic, given how much we spend. I can't even, it's terrible.
Well, I'll tell you, it's unbelievable. And when you think about high school seniors that are graduating, only 30% of them are reading proficiently. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't read words, but they can't read cognitively. And that's what we're missing. You read to learn up until 3rd grade, and then after that, you're learning to read up until the end of 3rd grade, then you're reading to learn. And if you can't read after the end of 3rd grade, you're going to be behind in your reading. And so that's what we have to focus on.
Well, I say to my own kids, if you don't read, I'm not talking about this, by the way. I'm not talking about phones. I'm like, if you don't read real books, you probably can't write.
True.
You must read to write. I've been preaching this gospel. I'm not saying my kids are all that great at it, but it's just terrible. I want to ask on a personal level. You're a businesswoman, and you've known President Trump for a long time. This is a new world for you, this education department. How shocked were you, if at all, about how swampy it really is?
Well, this is my 5th day on the job. And so, I did serve in the first administration of SBA. But so when I got to the Department of Education, the president said, look, I need an executive, I need a leader in the department. And so when I got there and I found out, I said, okay, we have to identify where the bloat is, where the bureaucracy is, and we're going to start there. because the programs, so many of the programs are really excellent. We need to make sure that money does get to the states. But we want more money to be able to go to the states. And that's what the president said all along. If we get rid of the bureaucracy, the states will get more. It'll go directly into the states.
Block grants to states.
Perhaps block grants without so many strings and red tape attached to it.
What's your interaction been with Elon Musk during your
was
very
going
brief
on at
tenure
the
so far?
Department
Well,
of
it's been excellent. And
Education?
I did co-chair the transition committee going into the administration, had a chance to work with him there. I have met with him twice. And we have Doge, a couple of the Doge, three, I think, Doge fellows that are in our department. And I look at it as an audit. You know, if you were in the private sector, this would be an audit. And it turns up a lot of things in the audit. Some of you look at it and say, no, we can get rid of that. Others, no, this is the implication that you don't understand, so we can't get rid of that. So I think.
So they have read-only access to the files, to your grant files and so forth.
Well,
budget files.
Yeah, they're not changing any of the budgets of that sort. They're there to go to find out information, to make suggestions. But, you know, the secretaries and the agency heads are actually the ones who run the departments and make the final decisions.
Well, it's great to have.
Okay. All right, so that was Linda McMahon talking about her reasoning behind the recent reduction in force of the Federal Department of Education. If you don't know, the Federal Department of Education funds Pell Grants, a lot of different grants for college, certain minority grants, some of them. A lot of the minority grants come from small businesses, which is interesting, and like other businesses like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, corporate grants, which a lot of people don't know. They think everything comes from federal money. A lot of it doesn't come from federal money. Federal money funds schools for special programs, such as special ed and things like that. Because if you think about it, the food programs may be part of it, but a lot of the food programs are covered under the state's CHIP acts, right? So each state, like in certain states, everybody gets free lunch. It doesn't even, you don't even have to qualify under a certain like poverty level. Everybody can have a free lunch, which I think is probably the best. For the kids that don't have money to get their little whatever they want to get, they got a lunch. And for the kids that do have money and just want to buy freaking donuts and stuff instead of eating the school lunch, they can do that. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a good idea. But I want y'all to understand that the Federal Department of Education closed down for a day. 50% of the staff was removed. But according to Linda McMahon, that is not going to affect what she called front-facing programs. So what the stuff I just mentioned, special education, Title I, Title IX, I think it is, monies, IEPs, 504s, all that kind of stuff. That she's saying they're not going to touch that. Okay, so there's a chance that there was a bunch of, you ever met somebody who has a job with a title that don't really mean much? It's like a beefed up secretary or something. Some of those jobs existed within the Board of Education, where they had people just kind of working there, not really doing much, but they had a title, and they used the titles to create these positions and jobs so that their budget can reflect those positions. Those positions also have raises associated with them, so they can inflate the budget for each department every year. But if the Department of Education's budget is inflated, then why does it seem like our kids are getting less educated? That's the question I have. So for me, I want to see where this goes for two reasons. One, because if they're wrong, it'll show up fast and an adjustment can be quickly made. But if they're right, then we can start to talk about some of these school districts and how they're misappropriating the money that's actually being sent from the Federal Department of Education. Doge is on the federal level, but I, from my own personal experience, would lean towards believing and understanding that the local school districts who are receiving money are misappropriating those funds and not getting certain kids the tools that they need. And they put a lot of these kids in these special education programs